Myanmar, Descent into Chaos, Despair, and Desperation by Azlan Adnan, M.A., published May 2025. Myanmar today stands as a stark warning of how fragile a nation can be when political ambition, ethnic strife, and authoritarianism converge unchecked. Since the 2021 military coup, the country has spiraled into a state of civil war, economic collapse, and deepening humanitarian catastrophe. What was once a nation aspiring towards democratic transition now teeters on the brink of state failure. A coup that shattered a nation. On the 1st of February 2021, the Tatmadaw, Myanmar's military, overthrew the civilian government led by Aung San Suu Kyi's National League for Democracy, NLD, citing unproven electoral fraud. The coup shattered a fragile democratic experiment and reignited decades-long tensions between the military and pro-democracy forces. What followed was an extraordinary national uprising. Peaceful protests transformed into a full-blown resistance movement, eventually leading to an armed rebellion. The resistance coalesced into the People's Defense Forces, PDF, backed by ethnic armed organizations, EAOs, long opposed to the central state. With the emergence of the parallel National Unity Government, NUG, Myanmar has effectively descended into a multi-front civil war. Widespread conflict and atrocities. The Tatmadaw's response has been brutal and indiscriminate. Entire villages have been razed, civilians bombed, and thousands arbitrarily detained or tortured. According to the Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, over 4,500 people have been killed, and more than 26,000 arrested since the coup. The use of airstrikes against civilian populations, including schools and hospitals, has become increasingly common, particularly in Sagaing, Chin, and Karen states. The conflict has become deeply fragmented, with over 20 EAOs controlling large swathes of territory. By early 2025, the junta had lost control of much of the countryside and border regions. Ethnic armies such as the Arakan Army and the Kachin Independence Army have grown in both capacity and territory, while the junta clings to urban centers and strategic towns. Economic disintegration. Myanmar's economy, already vulnerable before the coup, has been decimated. Foreign investment has fled, trade has collapsed, and inflation has soared. The kyat has lost over half its value, pushing basic goods out of reach for millions. The World Bank estimates that nearly half the population now lives below the poverty line, with over 15 million people requiring urgent humanitarian assistance. Power shortages, banking instability, and a near-total breakdown of public services have created a daily struggle for survival. Rural communities rely increasingly on informal barter systems, while the urban poor queue for hours for rice and fuel. The once thriving tourism and garment sectors lie in ruins. Humanitarian crisis and mass displacement. According to the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs, OCHA, more than 2.8 million people are internally displaced, a number that continues to rise amid relentless fighting. Ethnic and religious minorities, especially the Rohingya, remain in dire conditions, either trapped in camps in Rakhine State or languishing in refugee settlements across Bangladesh and Malaysia. Humanitarian access is severely restricted, with the junta routinely blocking aid to opposition-controlled areas. Health services have disintegrated, and outbreaks of preventable diseases are common. Education has collapsed, leaving an entire generation without access to schooling. An isolated and fragmenting state. The international community's response has been fragmented and largely ineffective. ASEAN's 5-point consensus has failed to produce results, and diplomatic engagement with the junta has achieved little. Western sanctions have hurt the military's access to funds, but China and Russia continue to provide arms and diplomatic cover. Myanmar is no longer governed by a functioning central authority. Instead, the country has fractured into autonomous zones controlled by armed groups and grassroots administrations. For millions, there is no state, no justice, and no future in sight. Conclusion. Myanmar's descent into chaos reflects a profound failure of international diplomacy, regional responsibility, and internal governance. The Tatmadaw's illegitimate rule has plunged the country into civil war, dismantled its economy, and pushed its people into the depths of despair. Unless a unified, sustained international strategy emerges, one that includes protection for civilians, support for the NUG, and targeted pressure on the junta's enablers, Myanmar may be lost to a generation. The world cannot afford to look away. References: 1. UN OCHA, Humanitarian Update on Myanmar, April 2025. 2. Assistance Association for Political Prisoners, AAPP, Myanmar, 2025. 3. World Bank, Myanmar Economic Monitor, January 2025. 4. International Crisis Group, Conflict Dynamics in Post-Coup Myanmar, March 2025. A heartfelt light. To every soul whose hand did give, you've helped me dream, helped me live. In darkest hours your light came through, with hearts so kind, so pure, so true. Your gifts, like stars in deepest night, have steered me gently toward the light. Each coin, each word, each silent prayer, a thread of hope, so rich, so rare. My eyes once dimmed now seek the skies, and slowly, clearer visions rise. Because of you, I dare to see the world again. Its grace, its plea. Your compassion's flame will not just stay with me alone. It lights the way for others wandering through despair to feel the warmth of selfless care. You've shown what love in action means, in quiet ways through giving scenes. You've built a bridge from soul to soul and made the broken feel more whole. So let this thanks rise like a song, a melody both soft and strong. May your example gently call more hearts to rise to give. To fall into the joy of lifting pain, of planting hope where none remains. Your kindness walks beside me still, a light, a love, a living will.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button to show your support.